two, 1, 2. I'm not sure where some. Check, check. 1, 2. Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Microphone check. 1, 2. Walking around a little bit. 1, 2. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. 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 1, 2.
I'd like you to meet our president-elect, Miss Kathy Sabachi.
Check, check. 1, 2.
You're the one that actually makes it happen, and Kevin just tries to take all the credit.
Yeah.
Is that right?
100% true.
Yeah.
I actually brought you here today.
Soon he's gone. Yeah,
Microphone check. 1, 2.
I'm gonna kick him out to
1,
regional.
She's the
1.
engine that makes it all happen. I'm just the hood ornament.
Thank you so much for coming in. This is
Hopefully I won't
great.
disappoint.
There's a lot of
I've set a low bar.
There's
two, two.
And hopefully I've got something interesting to say. Yeah, let's see. So well, again, you're being broadcast, so I got confirmation. So Edmonton's texting me. Their site's ready to go. They got a good group. Denver, Austin, DC, Nashville, Minneapolis.
Is this the biggest?
Don't dig it up.
Is this the biggest one? I don't know that there are many chapters of that many so far.
Oh, that many
As in
chapters? Like as far as
chapters?
broadcasting it? I don't know. Most chapters
I
don't
know
do
that-
it.
I know
This
that-
is very
I know that-
experimental. This
I
is
know
like,
that
let's just do it.
Calgary and the Canadian ones do it mostly.
They do it right amongst each other, correct.
is a lollipop, a 3D chocolate of your face. Take a video, upload it to our website, and before you know it, our mechanics have crafted you out of chocolate. After a dusting of gold, you're good to go. There's one to eat, one to keep, and one to share. So why not? Get ahead of yourself.
The name of my car was it's an intelligent car.
Tell me when you're ready. I'll give you volume. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. How many sound engineers does it take to change a light bulb? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And how's the level? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Welcome to ILEA Portland. How amazing. How are we doing? Tell me when you feel good. What's my clear zone here? How far can I walk forward? Just so I know. Tell me when. About here is where it's too much, so I'm okay. Am I good over here? Am I good? Am I good here? Good here? Good here? I've been around for a while. Okay, I'm good if you're good. Can I switch off this end or leave it on?
Is a lollipop, a 3D chocolate of your face. Take a video, upload it to our website, and before you know it, our mechanics have crafted you out of chocolate. After a dusting of gold, you're good to go. There's one to eat, one to keep, and one to share. So why not? Get ahead of yourself.
The name of my car was it's an intelligent car.
How much time do you got to get here?
1, 2. Hello, apparently I'm doing this to check how the Canadians are doing. My name is Richard Fowkes, and I would like to first of all raise a salute to our Queen. I'm promoting her here in Portland. While you're checking my level to see if you can actually hear, I do hope you can. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. How are your levels going? Talk to me, give me feedback. Not that kind of feedback. Hi, this is Richard Fowkes, still. Hi, how are you? Very good indeed. Apparently I'm talking to Edmonton. Exactly. I don't know if Edmonton can hear me, but it'd be lovely if they could. Am I plugged in to Edmonton? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Are we hearing me, Edmonton? I am speaking. Can I be heard around the world? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3. Edmonton, can you hear me? Edmonton, hello. Hello, Edmonton. Welcome. Please set me so loud that you can hear me, and also have the opportunity to switch me off should you find it unentertaining, uninspiring, and unreadable. Life's good here. I'm in the Portland University Club. Very nice, very nice. Lovely photos around the wall, pictures, paintings, artistic, very creative. Hopefully we'll be able to scotch some of that creativity with some dull stuff about commoditisation. I hope weather's good there. I don't know what time it is. I'd like to know that. I hope you'll be dialing in or sending texts of questions, which put me on the spot. 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you hear me? This is great. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can hear you now. 1, 2, 1, 2. This is my level. This is how I'll speak. I won't speak any louder than this. I won't shout. I will just talk like this. Hope you have a good time, Edmonton. And Nashville, if you're online, I hope you can hear me. And Denver is online, apparently. So sounds very scary. If I'd known there was going to be all these people online, I'd have probably practiced, or maybe made a bit of an effort. But well, you'll have to run with what I've got, and hopefully, if nothing else, you can have your day. Have I finished now? I'm done. Good. Phew.
Is a lollipop, a 3D chocolate of your face. Take a video, upload it to our website, and before you know it, our mechanics have crafted you out of chocolate. After a dusting of gold, you're good to go. There's 1 to eat, 1 to keep, and 1 to share. So why not? Get ahead of yourself.
The name of my car will be is an intelligent car.
Now it's time to
is a lollipop, a 3D chocolate of your face. Take a video, upload it to our website, and before you know it, our mechanics have crafted you out of chocolate. After a dusting of gold, you're good to go. There's one to eat, one to keep, and one to share. So why not? Get ahead of yourself.
The name of my car will be is an intelligent car.
Now it's time to think ahead. Great keypads, not only from A to B. It senses all of this, embraces your personality, and makes sure your life reflects your
is a lollipop, a 3D chocolate of your face. Take a video, upload it to our website, and before you know it, our mechanics have crafted you out of chocolate. After a dusting of gold, you're good to go. There's one to eat, one to keep, and one to share. So why not? Get ahead of yourself.
The name of my car will be is an intelligent car.
Now it's time to think ahead.
a lollipop, a 3D chocolate of your face. Take a video, upload it to our website, and before you know it, our mechanics have crafted you out of chocolate. After a dusting of gold, you're good to go. There's one to eat, one to keep, and one to share. So why not? Get ahead of yourself.
The name of my car will be is an intelligent car.
Now it's time to look ahead. Great key paths, not only from A to B. It senses all of this, embraces your personality, and makes sure your life reflects your
is a lollipop, a 3D chocolate of your face. Take a video, upload it to our website, and before you know it, our mechanics have crafted you out of chocolate. After a dusting of gold, you're good to go. There's one to eat, one to keep, and one to share. So why not? Get ahead of yourself.
The name of my car will be is an intelligent car.
Now it's time to look ahead.
is a lollipop, a 3D chocolate of your face. Take a video, upload it to our website, and before you know it, our mechanics have crafted you out of chocolate. After a dusting of gold, you're good to go. There's one to eat, one to keep, and one to share. So why not? Get ahead of yourself.
The name of my car will be is an intelligent car.
Now it's time to think ahead. Great paths, not only from A to B. It senses all of this, embraces your personality, and makes sure your life reflects your
is a lollipop, a 3D chocolate of your face. Take a video, upload it to our website, and before you know it, our mechanics have crafted you out of chocolate. After a dusting of gold, you're good to go. There's one to eat, one to keep, and one to share. So why not? Get ahead of yourself.
The name of my car will be is an intelligent car.
Now it's time to think ahead.
is a lollipop, a 3D chocolate of your face. Take a video, upload it to our website, and before you know it, our mechanics have crafted you out of chocolate. After a dusting of gold, you're good to go. There's one to eat, one to keep, and one to share. So why not? Get ahead of yourself.
The name of my car will be it's an intelligent car.
Now it's time to think ahead. Great new paths, not only from A to B. It senses all of this, embraces your personality, and makes sure your home reflects your home.
is a lollipop, a 3D chocolate of your face. Take a video, upload it to our website, and before you know it, our mechanics have crafted you out of chocolate. After a dusting of gold, you're good to go. There's one to eat, one to keep, and one to share. So why not? Get ahead of yourself.
The name of my car will be it's an intelligent car.
Now it's time to think ahead. embraces your personality and makes you your own friend star.
Hello. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. I'm Kathy Sabaka. Hi. Hello to everybody that's on the live feed. I think we have Edmonton, Nashville, Denver, DC, Minneapolis, and Austin. And then also thanks to MPI members for joining us today, too. This is going to be a fun one. Who else would we like to thank? University Club, Cherish. I don't know if you're still out there, but she has business cards. They rent the space out as well, and I know they have a couple spaces upstairs, so if you want more info, grab her card. Who else? Stephanie for putting up Richard at the Benson. He's having a wonderful experience over there. Plenty of tea. And last but not least, thank AV for doing this live feed. Laurel, thank you for setting this up. And yeah, welcome everybody. Justin's going to tell us a little bit about upcoming programs.
Yeah. Good morning, I'm Justin, Programs and Education. So I just wanted to update you guys on what we've got coming up. Next month, we've got Kent Lewis. He's the president of Anvil Media Digital Marketing. Excuse me. And they provide search engine and social media marketing services. He's been teaching at Portland State since 2000, so it'll be a really interesting talk on digital marketing, specifically as it pertains to the live event industry. We're still waiting to lock down the date on that. We're looking at maybe the September 10th, which is a Tuesday at 11, September 17th, which is another Tuesday at 11, or pushing it towards the end of the month on the 26th, which is a Thursday, and doing it more at a happy hour time. And I was actually wondering, because the venue we're looking at is the new Castaway space out in Beaverton, and just as a quick show of hands, who might be interested or willing to drive out to Beaverton at 3:30, 4 o'clock on a Thursday? Any takers? Okay. All right, so 3. There's also talk about maybe combining that with sort of an open house with the new space that they're opening out there. So if they did it as an open house, maybe it would be a little bit more of a draw. But it sounds like maybe we'll shoot for earlier in the month. After that, in October, we've got a date of October 23rd. Still waiting to lock down a venue. I just talked with Sarah from Hotel Rose. Sounds like they might be interested. And For that month, we're welcoming Ingrid Nagy. She is the past president of ILEA International, also past president of ILEA Denver. She owns a catering company, Catering by Design, and she specializes in design. And a couple topics that we're looking at with her: business management, just kind of a general how she runs her business. Business scaling and achieving self-sufficiency, which I thought was kind of an interesting topic, and then team management and systems of accountability. So those three are kind of on the board. So actually, again, since we've got you all here, raise of hands for business management. Interested in that? Okay. Business scaling, achieving self-sufficiency. Okay, couple. Team management and systems of accountability. Any takers for that? And maybe we'll do a hybrid and we'll get everybody involved. So yeah, that's what we've got coming up. I just want to reiterate too, we want to keep open conversations. If you guys have any topics or venues that you think would be interesting, please bring those to us, myself or Marissa, who's not here today, or Kathy or Kevin or anybody else. We love to hear feedback from you guys and get new ideas so that we get you guys the content that you're interested in. So thank you.
Hey everybody, thanks again for being here. Of course, Kevin Moser, CSCP, immediate past president of this Portland chapter, currently regional vice president of the Western region of ILEA. So Richard and I were actually in Minneapolis last week for the ILEA Live annual conference, and we, the ILEA Portland chapter, were recognized with the Spirit of Excellence Award for membership growth and membership retention. So we are... And yeah, get this. I couldn't say this because I'll tell you a story later when we're not recording. But yeah, it's technically 2 awards, but I have the one. Anyway, it was fantastic. So we are now an award-winning chapter, so all the more reason why you should become a member and get involved. I want to reiterate what Kathy said. We partnered up with MPI, so we've got some MPI members here today. That's great. We love it. We play in the same sandbox. We should be working together. We have members who drove in from Seattle, from Tacoma, from Eugene, Salem, all over the place today just to hear this man speak. That's a testament to how wonderful he is and our great communications team who's been promoting you. Another thing, while we were in Minneapolis, there were so many great keynote speakers, and one was this woman, Carla Moore. She's a VP at HBO. Really, really, really fantastic. And I was able to get my hands on a few books that she was signing and talking about a little bit. And so I love to share the wealth with my ILEA community, so I'm going to give 3 of these away. First, put your hands in the air if you're an ILEA member. Keep your hands up if you're an avid reader. Keep your hands up if you have an Instagram account. Keep your hands up if you're willing to share a picture of you holding this and looking adorable and tagging us. Now, who's got the most followers? Who's got 1,000? And Jessica wins! Fantastic. Now, if you are not a member, put your hand in the air. Because we love you guys too. We love you guys too. Well, MPI, you're going to be a separate category. You're separate. So if you're not a member, okay. Now, same questions. Are you an avid reader? She's like, nope, too busy. Do you have an Instagram account? Are you going to share this picture? Who's got the most followers? You probably have a lot. Over 1,000? Who can beat over 1,000? Oh, how many do you have? 1,800? I think you got the winner right over here. All right, enjoy the book. And now, because we do love MPI, I know we've got a handful. Put your hands up, MPI folks. Same question. You already got one. You can't read it twice. Who's an Instagram cuckoo nut with lots of followers? You don't count, Nems. Y'all are double dipping. I'm looking just for pure MPI. Who's got the most followers on Instagram? Well, if you don't know, you don't check it like every 5 minutes? All right, I'm going to give it to you because you were very early to respond in RSVP. And you're on the board of MPI, so we love that. All right, now, Again, welcome to all the people who are watching worldwide, including to our neighbors to the north. And without further ado, I want to bring to the stage a friend, a mentor, a guy who I've always enjoyed hearing speak and just taking away information from him. Also, if you are interested, he's still in town till tomorrow. We're going to do a little informal dinner tonight at Henry's. If you're interested in coming to that, that's where you can really pick his brain, go deep, and he'll probably tell you inappropriate stories as well. So it might be really worth coming checking that out. So again, find me. But really, I'm so happy to have him here from all the way across the pond, Sir Richard.
Why, thank you. It's always quite funny coming to someone like this, especially when you have someone like Kevin introduce you, because he's so totally oversold me. I mean, I really would have made an effort if I knew it was going to be this. It was going around the world. Welcome. Let me tell you a little bit about me. Well, first of all, the film that I think hopefully you've kind of been taking snippets of, it was just a collection of films that they're all for companies that I have either worked for or I respect what they do because I think they're interesting and they do great creative work. And I think those are the companies where if you like creative ideas, they're the kind of companies you look to get inspiration. Those companies all believe and understand commoditization and process and the power of creativity. And so that's kind of where I'm going to focus what I'm talking about today. So I'm Richard Fowkes. I'm a business consultant and a facilitator, and I've worked for 30 years in the creative industry. But that's enough. Oh, hello. Oh. Oh, do you know what? That's brilliant. That's the first bit of creativity, and well done. You get an award. Okay. So, I'm a business consultant. I've done 30 years. That's enough about me. If you want to know about me, find me on LinkedIn, and you'll see everything about it. But hopefully, the credibility that Kevin's set up and that my history has, if you look on LinkedIn, I've maybe got the right to at least have an opinion on what I'm going to talk about. But it doesn't mean that I am right. So the way I'm positioning this is my view. And if you disagree at the end of this, tell me why. Let's discuss it. Because it could be either I'm right, you're wrong. Most likely, we're both right. We just need to look at it at a different angle. So I'm intrigued on that, okay? So, let's first of all start with a really easy thing. Who's in the room? Let's have a look at, have we got, who would class themselves as planners? Okay, who would class themselves as PCOs, DMCs, that kind of thing? Okay, none of those. Production company suppliers, that kind of thing. Okay, would any of you class yourself as like event experience agencies? Kind of crossover, maybe. Okay. Any end clients? Okay, not a lot. Little plant of thought there is everyone's a client for somebody. And this is going to be really important when we get towards the end of this and start to think through what I've said, because a lot of this is positioned as if it's the end client, but actually wherever you fit, it applies to you, whoever your client is. So, next question. Who believes creativity is important in their business? Wow, everyone. Anyone believe it isn't? Okay, well that's a good start. Well, we're on the right track and you're in the right place. So what I'm going to discuss today is I'm going to discuss commoditization. I'm going to clarify what it means, and then I'm going to talk about what I think creativity is. I'm going to look at how we sell our services, and then go on from that to build a model of how we generally deliver events, or any other business activity, actually. And then I'm going to assess if we're generally selling ourselves in the right way. Maybe there's an alternative way that we could utilize that's more grasped in advertising and PR, and they've been doing it for a long time. Then I'm going to talk about carrots and cabbages. Is that okay with everyone? Any questions? Cool. So, let's start with commoditization. Now, The most difficult thing about commoditization, the most difficult, and the thing you can spend such a lot of time worrying about, is how to spell it. It really can be difficult, and especially if you're from England and everyone says there should be a Z, I would call it, or Z, I think you call it. So let's get over that hurdle. It doesn't matter how you spell it. It's a thing, right? So what is it? Anyone got a clue? Anyone want to say anything? Or shall I just tell you? Okay, hopefully. This is it. Goods or services which are undistinguishable in terms of the attributes, either their uniqueness or their brands, from others in the market are commodities. And most importantly, commodities are bought on price alone. Big point. So the key bit here is products that are different cannot be commodities. Ooh, sorry, I pressed the wrong button there. So that's a key point. Unfortunately, if you're an AV supply company, hate to say it, guys, you're a commodity. You can argue as much as you like. You are a commodity. Same gear, different companies. And for those type of companies to not be commodities, they have to differentiate themselves in a different way, but they're not going to do it on their equipment. And if they start going down the line, our equipment is better than someone else's, it's going to be a tough call to actually argue it, and people aren't going to believe you, and you say, my cable's better than his cable. I'm not sure that's right. But what they tend to do is say they'll base their differentiation on service levels, they'll base it on history, reliability, so they'll try and find the differentiating point, and that's the only way they can. Hotels can be a commodity, or they can differentiate. I stayed at the Benson last night. It's been lovely, actually, and what's been amazing is every point of contact I've had there has been perfectly done, and it's the tiniest thing that makes a difference. So, thanks to Benson, I'll move on. But creativity is different, right? So, firstly, who agrees with this? Creativity cannot be commoditized. Hands, show of hands. So, it's a sort of split. People going, I'm not sure, he's going to make an idiot of me. Right, okay, there was an interesting point there for those saying creativity can be stolen. Okay, we'll come on to that. Okay, well, my view, and you might disagree, but after 30 years sort of in the creative industries, I'm going to tell you it certainly can. Bugger. Now I've got to explain why, haven't I? Well, I'm going to have a go. But before we can explain why, we've got to kind of focus a little bit on maybe what creativity is, before I can explain why it can be commoditized. Everyone happy if I do that? Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. What does creativity mean? Well, with creativity, maybe we're a bit more unique. Well, at least a little less common, maybe. We're more like the white button on that series of red buttons we had earlier, a little bit of differentiation. For example, you could argue that a creative event specialist is able to define the space they work in a bit better than an event specialist. And so maybe they can be a bit more innovative. But would you say that innovation and creativity are the same thing? I don't think so. Now, my good friend Nigel Collin wrote this. It's rather old, actually, this book, but it's a fantastic book. And he sets out the difference between creativity and innovation. And he states this. I think I've got it. It comes up. He says, innovation is the application and implementation of ideas. That's why it's so important to business. Innovation leads to strategies and inventions. being creative is about applying creativity. It's about generating ideas and concepts. Creativity is not about ponytails, paint, flowers, decor, but it is about idea generation. And really importantly, idea generation is not limited to artistic people. It's a good book, by the way. And Nigel and I are halfway through writing another one together, which we're hoping, if we can get our act together, will be out by the end of the year. And it's going to be brilliant. Well, why wouldn't it be? I mean, it's me. It's going to be fantastic. Nigel holds me back a bit sometimes. Anyway, where did I get to? So, about 6 months ago, I was in Denver, and I was asked to chair a session at an international leaders forum, which included senior leaders from agencies like Vogt-Dams in Germany. They're a huge creative agency. Experiential agencies from the UK, from the US, and actually some of the people you might know or heard of. But all of these people were at the top of the game, and for me to be in there and be chairing it was like, I felt it was like an honour, because I'm thinking, God, these people are so like really good. But I asked them a really simple question, and the question was, what is creativity and why is it valuable? You will not believe how silent the room went. It was like drawing blood from a stone. So any thoughts from the room to that question? Or is it the same, stone and blood, whatever? Shall I tell you what they said? And then you can take it from there. Okay. Number one, well, it's a struggle to quantify. Okay. Oh, it's beyond design and decor. It's sort of strategic and intellectual thinking. It's a way of creating engagement or emotional impact. It's a way of thinking. Maybe it's something that leads and stimulates innovation. Well, yeah. Doesn't really help though, because we all know that, but it's quite nice to see it up there. So, but it led to a premise that if creativity stimulates and drives innovation, you might want to think that innovation is the doing and creativity is the thinking. Or perhaps creativity is the enabler of innovation. What do you think about that? Interesting, maybe? Now, if this is the case, you can apply creativity to any area of your business. Yeah? Because creativity is coming up with innovation or new approaches. So you just agree with what I just said. So now think of, I'd like to question them. Just in them, no, don't need to respond. How many of you actually do that? Actually think about that, okay? So not just your events, but your business. I think that's quite an interesting, just follow on. What am I going to talk about now? Come on, catch up. Last point, creativity solves problems. Position that rather than creativity, I'm creative. No, creativity solves problems. So if this is true, and the room's kind of suggesting they agree, although I'm the one with the microphone and I might not let you speak, what does creativity need? What does it need? Well, I believe it needs structure. Why? Well, before an artist can paint, he needs to understand colours. As my good friend at the back once said to me, a great musician needs to know how to play the guitar before he can come up with something amazing with a guitar. You need to understand the rules. Steven Spielberg needs a script, and he needs to get some technical people around him before he can deliver a blockbuster film. So it's a question of the team. So creative thinkers and creatives cry out for structure if you actually think about it, you unpick it. Or more simply put, Creativity needs a framework in which to work. Does this make any sense? Anyone kind of going, oh, I'm not sure? Yeah, kind of makes sense. Kevin, I'm going to call you out here because you said, no, creativity doesn't need a structure, doesn't need a framework. You got three seconds. Tell me why.
I said it was the death of creativity, not the structure.
Right?
Before you made your point.
Which I go. So, just in case Kevin grabs you later and says exactly that, hopefully this will take you through what I'm now going to say that brings back. You cannot put a frame about the hold back creativity by having things that are in the way of it, but you can give it a structure, I believe. So, you could put that as, if you think of creativity involves structure, it's basically saying don't think outside the box. Create the box and then think completely freely within it. Yeah? Because thinking out the box is crazy. Yeah? But in the box you can think really, really freely. Spend some time defining the box. As much just to set the scene for the creativity you're going to have. Structure is actually another word of saying process. A process to create a framework to solve a problem. So we're not talking about colours and paint and ponytails and black outfits. We're talking of a process to solve a problem, and that needs creative thinking. Some of the most widely respected advertisers and filmmakers and marketeers have been really good at doing this for years. And I don't think our industry is quite up there. Because what they do is they have a process. And importantly, they sell the process as much as the product. So just dwell on that. I'll say it again. They sell the process as much as the product. So if you think that creativity is a process, put in your mind now, because we're going to cover it, but we think, are you selling the process or the product? Just think about it. Food for thought. So, who thinks process for creative people doesn't work? Oh, I oversold it at the front end now. So everyone's too scared to say, I don't agree with you. Okay, but okay, I'm going to give you some more feedback to prove that, of course, my opinion is strong, might not be right. This is a bridge in Seville, southern Spain. Beautiful, built in 1992 as part of the Expo celebrations. Designed by an architect called Santiago Calatrava. If you like beautiful things, look this guy up. Just type in Santiago Calatrava and look at what he does. Amazing pieces of architecture. Beautiful. But he doesn't go, yeah, I've got this great idea for a bridge. It's going to be amazing and it's going to look fabulous. No, he doesn't do that. He goes, how wide's the gap it's got to get across? How many trucks have got to go across? What times does it need to be open? So he works out all of the constraints and then he creates something beautiful. You all sort of didn't dare put your hand up to disagree with me a minute ago, but let's ask another question. Hand on heart, how many people in this room can actually say they have a creative process in their office? One. Have a creative process that you use. A process. You have a creative process. Okay, great. We'll come on and look at creative processes, and then you can decide yourself. I'm not telling you. I don't know. Great. I think it's fantastic you have. I spent 25 years at a company called Imagination. They're probably the biggest independent creative agency. And it is a creative agency. It's 90% creative people. And I spent many years with them arguing this point. We don't want a framework. We don't want a framework. Oh, we can't do this. We can't have a process of how we do it. We developed one. And they loved it. They bought into it. Because you go to a creative person and they will say, yeah, but if it's an event, well, how many people? And you go, oh, I'm not telling you. If you do that, they go, no, I need to know how many people. Right? So you need a process. Anyway, so this is a book that Imagination produced. It was updated. I left in 2012. It was updated in 2013. This is the, I think this is the 2013 one. Well, I was copied on it anyway. I helped put it together. And every account manager, every project manager, every freelancer, every client gets given one. And I'll be honest, I have never seen a better one since going. I've never seen one before. It's quite impressive. And I'm not going to go into detail on it. I'm going to go show you some snapshots to make you to look at it. Effectively, it's a reworking of what advertising and PR agencies have been doing for a long time, but they've changed it to work for experiential activity. And the process they have in place, it doesn't matter whether they're producing a film or they're producing an event or they're producing a piece of graphics. It doesn't matter. It actually works. You just change the titling a bit. But I also like the title, Our Way, and the subheading there, A Guide to Setting Up Projects and Creating Great Ideas and Transforming Business Through Creativity. It's beautifully written because you think they are about generating ideas and ideas that have an impact on someone's business because that's what people buy. They don't buy your flowers. They buy the impact it has on their business or their message. And so to me, the thing is, it's all about idea, generation, and management. I'm going to show you, I'm not going to spend long on this because, I mean, you can't read it to start with. But these are just a few snapshots. I've got 4 snapshots. This one just showing, if you think of what we tend to believe in, the actual doing here, which is implementation, if you can just read that, implementation, is at stage 5. Stage 5 of their process. You've got stage 1, qualification, stage 2, strategy, stage 3, development, detailing, implementation, and then come back around. So just want to think about that they're focusing everything on the front end, not the back. Back to creativity. Let's listen about what they say in this book about idea generation. This is great. A good creative response considers a wide spread of concepts before settling on an appropriate and inspiring creative way forward. I think we all know that, but they've got it in a line. I love this. From any brief or insight, there are several possible routes forward, and all are worthy of discussion. This is the path of innovation. And then the last bit, also in their book. The first step is a development of ideas, covering different angles from the same starting point. These should be presented back to the project team by the creative team before a final idea is chosen and pursued. There's about 3 amazing points in that line. One is that you're assuming there's more roads to Rome. Yeah, you've actually said, so there are several different angles of looking at it from starting point to end point. Second point that's really clever about that is the creative team are saying, I need to present it back to my team to get all the buy-in and for them to have different opinions or whatever, before we select the one we're going to pursue. So there's quite a lot in a simple word there. This is also brilliant, and there's a couple of things I want to show there. For those who are just watching on screen, a couple of things to highlight, whereas I'm going to point at them here, is this is the kind of process they have built into their. This is just a snapshot of part of the process for those that think in flowcharts rather than those that think in words. But look at these 2 bits. This here on the left, the purple one. So they've come up with deciding is a creative approach applied? Because sometimes it's like, we need a load of trucks to deliver, or we need some transportation. No, we don't need a creative approach, just need some trucks. But if a creative approach it goes off to what they call the creative loop. So this is the framework that we talked about a bit earlier. They've said, think freely in that area, but yeah, off you go. And then here, they come up with a concept. They work through, it goes to a creative view, and hey, the creative review, it doesn't pass, it doesn't meet all of the objectives. Because look who's responsible to the, you've got account managers, you've got production managers, you've got design people looking at the creative solution saying, no, that doesn't work. And it goes back into a loop and keeps going round. So this kind of thinking of having free thinking, it's kind of stops along the way going, well, we got this, what does it work? To me, I think that's important. So what they've got is a clear process, and they've got people who contribute along the way, and it's documented. For some, that might be a bit boring and a bit kind of, oh, we can't work like that. But actually, if you unpick it, everyone's free, everyone can do what they like. Nigel Collin, the guy that wrote that book, and I came up with this, which is what we would call a problem solving. And we talked about that creativity or creative thinking is about solving problems. So Nigel and I came up with this, which was, we've got a company together called the Thought Cake Institute, which we just found funny, calling it a thought cake, because we like cake. And we thought through, so starting at the top, you have an issue. And so rather than thinking, oh, the client, what's their issue? What's the challenge? What do they need to achieve? You put that in at the top, and you basically, in this first stage, you identify, well, what is the issue? I need to understand the issue a bit better. What are the resources that I can apply to it? And what are the parameters? There's no point thinking out of the box and going, fantastic response. You said you wanted to do an event in Portland, but we're going to do it in Seattle. I mean, you're probably going to miss the point. So you have to understand. You identify the objectives, the resources, the parameters. That gives you, of your cake, the ingredients. And we all know with a cake, same ingredients, different cakes. Depends what you do in the middle, doesn't it? So the next point is you generate the ideas. You start thinking it, which is effectively the recipes. How are we going to mix those ingredients up? And how are we going to cook it? What do we add? Whatever. Then you look at it and you go, how are we going to filter all those ideas? We're going to look at all those recipes and go, what's the best recipe for this dinner tonight from the same ingredients? And eventually, you act on the best ideas. That's when you bake the cake, which is what comes here. Same thinking, but what I'd like to focus on is look how much there is before you bake the cake. And that's what we're going to come on to next, I think. So, creativity is hard to sell, right? Is it? Why is it hard? I asked the same questions to those people in Denver last year. And again, they came back with, well, it's hard to quantify creativity. Picks back more. So it's really hard to sell it. Very competitive in the event market. Creativity is hard to sell. Clients don't understand the effort it takes to be creative. Oh, what have I done? What did I press? Oh, there we go. And people steal my ideas. Yeah? How many agree that those are kind of things that make it? People steal my ideas. Yeah? I'm going to talk about stealing ideas in a minute. I'll be brutal. Okay. So what I've done is, if you take both all the things we had from the imagination process, we take the thought cake process, and we put it into something linear, something we can kind of get our heads around, not something up its own, whatever you would use as terminology here. So this is the thought. This is another way of looking at it. Start with an issue, come up with some ideas. Unfortunately, they're just ideas, right? So you then apply a constraint filter to the ideas. And some won't make it through. They just won't make it through. And it's not, Kevin, stopping you having the just ideas, right? You can have just ideas, but at some point you've got to put it through a constraint filter. And some of them won't make it through. Some of those ideas might join together and create another just idea that might make it through. But ultimately, something makes it through. And that is an idea that works. Then you've got to get to the best idea, yeah? Because if you've got several that have got through, you've got to get the best idea. Then you deliver it. Easy. And what happens? You get a successful outcome. But another way of looking at this is if you take, does everyone agree that's more or less what happens? I mean, maybe you sometimes just have one idea and it goes through and you make it and you realize, oh shit, halfway through, let's change it, it's not going to work. But the principle's there, yeah? So another way of looking at this is the bit before the orange delivery is the thinking, and then you have the doing, right? That makes sense? Another way of looking at that, another set of words. If you did change the words, that's the strategy and that's the delivery. Yeah, just changing the words. So, I can't. Here's the other bit. This bit, the thinking bit, or strategy, is really hard to commoditize. Because it's about ideas, it's about thinking, it's about the delivery. Easy to commoditize, really easy. So, another way of looking at this is the bit that's the clever bit, the strategy, is where you take intangible ideas and you convert them into tangible ideas. That's what you do for a living. It's just you're not telling anyone about it. Yeah? Is everyone kind of with me? Does it make sense? Anyone disagree fervently? If you do, I'll talk to you later. Okay. Why do I think I'm on the right track? Because I was invited into the Global Event Forum last week this week, I can't remember what day it is, last week in Minneapolis, which had 28 of the supposedly the great and the good, the best in their industry from across the world. There were people from America, from the United States, from the Middle East, from United Kingdom, from Canada. And what they came up with was this, that if you think of an event creation journey, this is what happens. Notice the similarity to my slides, isn't that really handy? So what they've said, which is, I think, quite interesting, is that you have the front end of it is the strategy. Another way of talking strategy is why. Or another way, if you're a copywriter and advertising, is the story or the big idea, but it's understanding why. The next phase you go through is the detailed design. How? It's a fulfillment tactic phase. So you're creating all those things. And I'm going to come on to why that is more than creativity at the end. And then you deliver it. Importantly, the front end is the thinking and the back end is the doing. So I'll come on back to this slide with another thought later. So remember what I just said. So what you start with is intangible. You use creativity to get to the tangible. Creative thinking and using creativity is the same thing. Being creative, you can't quantify. Because everybody's creative, if you ask them, if they're in this industry, you know. Right. Now, problem with commoditization, unfortunately, is about price, isn't it? So, how does that work? How do people in this industry generally make money? So I'm now taking this to money, cash, right? So if you have clients, doesn't matter where you sit in the delivery chain, this is the way you make money. So listen up. You make fees for people. Charge management fees. You mark up. If you're I guess the only bit that's going to be missing on this is if you're a hardware supplier, then there's the cost of the rentals. But this is true. So you say to your client, we're going to charge you 10% on top of whatever, or whatever the number is. You sometimes charge markups and just don't tell them. Or maybe you have retrospective refunds from suppliers at the year end. So you don't tell the clients, you do mark it up, and then you get a load of cash back. Does anyone make money in any other way than those 5 things? No. Good. So that's covered off how we make money. What's happened? There we go. Okay, so what about profit? Right, so now this is really key. Because depending on what you do, particularly if you're in an agency. I think it's a slightly different model for if you're a hardware supplier, but essentially, if you're you're selling events, you are making somewhere between 25 and 45% gross profit. And if you're not, you're going out of business, right? If you're a digital agency, you should be 75 to 85%, maybe even 90, because it's all intellectual, the work you do. If you're a consultant, well, it's greater than 80% because you've got nothing to go with it. It's good for me because I'm a consultant, hey? Now, why the range 25 to 45%? Because if you're doing a $10 million job, it doesn't take you 45% of the effort. So you'll be on the 25%. If you're doing a job that's $3,000, you're going to spend a proportionally more amount of time delivering the product. So you'll be 45, even 50% for you to make a living. The biggest challenge here is if you're in procurement and people say, my agency makes 10%. Well, I just say that point, stupid procurement person, because either the agency is lying to you or your agency isn't lying to you and they're going to go out of business, and that's not going to be great for you. These are the right numbers. And it doesn't matter which way you wrap it up on the previous things of how you're making your money. That's where you end up. Yeah? Anyone disagree? Cool. It's lucky. So, what's the problem? Yeah? What's the problem? Anyone any idea? Everyone's scared now? Okay, don't be scared. That's the problem. That's where we make all the money in general. Most people, not everyone, and those that don't, great. Most people in this industry make all the money that covers all of this work in that orange thing. That's the problem, because that is the bit that everyone tries to commoditize. Good food for thought? Don't have to agree with me. Because our clients actually value the thinking bit. They come to their agency or their third-party supplier, they come to their AV company, their client, because we know they do a good job. We know, the guys that they send are fantastic and they help us craft what we're going to do. As a client of an AV agency, you value the experience to get you to the product. You don't actually care about the speaker. As long as it works and it does the job it's meant to, you do value the thinking. So, question, why not charge more up that bit and less in the delivery bit? Why wouldn't you do that? You don't have to make any more money, you just kind of place the money that you're charging in the area where they want it. So, interesting or not? Shall I just keep going? Right. So what can we do? What can we actually do? How am I doing on time? Am I all right? Yeah. Well, how about we stop undermining and undervaluing the thinking part of that chart? Think about where the true value is for your client in your service. In marketing terms, they call it the value proposition. And how many people running a business actually sit down and work out what the value proposition is, really? And the value proposition, question.
You're saying how many people focus on the value proposition. I mean, that's your differentiator, though.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Correct. And your value proposition fits a lot of the time up there. So, yeah, absolutely right. And the question is I don't think generally as an industry we're great at doing it. And a tiny improvement could make a huge difference. If I'm being brutal, you could say, stop giving away the part that the client values the most. Yeah? And is harder to commoditize. And then think about the process in that thinking stage. Because if you can create a process for the thinking stage, you can work out ways to charge for it. Which might mean all those hidden markups that you hide to make the money you need to have to pay your wages, you don't have to necessarily tell them about. Because unfortunately, if you think about your process, you have to think about how you price it. They just go together. So going back to the question and thinking of all the things I just wrote down there, How many of you really have a solid creative process? One or two, not many. But that's not bad, that's great. But just think about it, maybe you should, maybe you don't need one. Okay, so how do we do it? Well, I think words have power. And maybe if you start to change the way you describe the creativity, you could then think about how to position it slightly further up the value chain. Use the right words, like strategy, thinking, planning creatively, ideation, discovery phases, and not so much about creative and creativity. Same thing, different words. How about shifting creative people to be strategists more? And it can be anyone. It doesn't need to be someone with ponytails. Someone who thinks creative. This is about elevating the language you use. Because funnily enough, procurement, which everyone's has a lot of trouble with now, actually understands strategy. They've been buying it for years. They actually understand it. But what we sell them is, yeah, we'll give you a great pop-up, whatever. So just, is there a way of looking at it? Start using the words your buyers understand and value, rather they don't and they commoditize. Start selling your creative process as much as your creativity. Think about being able to describe how you go from the intangible to the tangible and create something that solves their business issue, because that's what people want to buy. I guess this might lead you to thinking it in a different way. So it's about a shift in thinking from creativity and being creative to thinking creatively, thinking strategically, planning creatively. Now the last one is going to come to, I hope, will become clear why I've put that in. When I'm starting to talk of a model, maybe. Doing that lets you shift your value up the value chain. I think there's another point here about, and I said I'd talk about stealing your ideas. To be honest, stop complaining about people stealing your ideas. Two parts to that. One is, if I went to two very, very competent planners, creatives, and I gave them exactly the same brief, the chances are not low that they come back with the same idea. They're not low. They're not necessarily high, but they're not low. So sometimes the idea that you think's been stolen is just someone coming up with the same idea, right? Other times, it is your idea, and the client has taken it, you pitched it, you lost, they went to the cheapest supplier and told them to use your idea. Absolutely happens. Get over it. It's going to happen. If you go back to that chart I had, where you had all the ideas, just go and have another idea. If you're that great a company, have another idea. Take it on the chin and go back, well, here's a better idea. Because you'll never win this. And if you spend your time complaining and getting upset about it, do you know what? Have a better idea, be more positive, move forward, you'll win business. That's just sorry, rant over. We talked about selling the process as much as the solution, shifting the margin. Now, I'm not saying you make more money. You might, but I'm just saying let's take all of the things away from that area. And so going back to this one, if you look at this, which the great and the good came up with, the thinking and the doing, what they spent the whole time talking about is shifting the value up the chain. Because this is the bit the client actually cares about. They can buy that anywhere. Lots of grey areas in that, that's why there's the colours there. So what do we do about it? Well, how about we do something sort of one step at a time, slowly. Who knows who this is in the room? Kevin at the back. This is my good friend, Kerry Miller. And all of those in Canada will know her very well. So that's great, those that are listening. She works as a creative director. Well, until a few years ago, she was creative director at a Calgary-based company called Equals MC Squared. They're a great company, great agency. And for those in Canada, they're a great agency. I like them. Anyway, Kerry has had her title change in the last few years. She now has the title of creative strategist. Interesting. I said, are you doing the same job? Yeah, same job. Just call myself creative strategist. Oh, why is that? He said, well, we just changed how we position ourselves. We're a strategic agency that does an event rather than an event agency. Okay, cool. Or they use events to bring to life clients' issues or solves them. She said, well, talking through, well, we pitch, but we only pitch in presenting our credentials, really. We don't solve our clients' problems in the pitch. Oh, it's brave, isn't it? Yeah. I said, they changed their words. They simply say, if people say, we want some ideas from you for the pitch, they say, well, we're a different kind of agency. We don't do that. You don't get the thinking for free, but we're happy to work with you to get the value you need. So they changed their words. Now, it's a different approach, isn't it? Let's just check on Mr. Nick here. So I said to her, how's that going, Saying to clients you're not doing it. And she said, well, key lessons, we lost a few clients. Funnily enough, a lot of them have come back. And those clients we've got value us more and keep coming back. I said, well, what are the key lessons you got from that? She said, well, this. We ask why more often, and we elevate that intangible phase. Change the words to words that procurement are more used to, and we've beefed up our process. I said, wow, okay. She said, and we're doing better than we ever have. But they were brave. I'm not saying you should do this, but they have. So, if you were to consider everything I've said and just start to think about, well, yeah, but how do we actually do that? So what I thought about is let's just look at what we do. And this gives some insight maybe of how I think and how I'm thinking with this piece. Let's look at that event journey. And we've got the thinking, the why, what, and how, with that bit we had at the front end. And then you've got the doing, the delivering the product. Some people call it production, whatever. Let's have a look at the list down the left. Are these familiar items? Understanding why. Well, I put that in because we talked a lot about that. Content, that could be anything. Design and decor, entertainment, lighting, logistics, travel, transportation, sound AV, coachings, hotels, stage management, and project management. Okay? Where do we think they fit in here? Yeah? Here's my thought. And here's my thought, which I think is kind of close. It's a guess, right? So if you take the first one, the understanding why, you do about 95% of it at the front end, and maybe there's 5% afterwards you're doing whatever, assessing whether you achieve your objectives. Finally, you get on things like logistics and travel or transportation. Kevin? Ah, you get onto logistics and travel and transportation. I need 7, is that all right? Yeah. Transportation. Interestingly, say the transportation, logistics, right? Oh, that's all in doing. Well, no. The clever bit about planning a transportation system is not in getting the coaches at the venue and being there. The clever bit is all the thousands of sheets and cross-references. How can I achieve all this movement with less coaches so it costs less? That's thinking. And that needs creatively thinking people who happen to be logistics specialists. So if you put the value in there, rather than, we've got a logistics person that deals with the transportation and then they'll manage it and you charge a price for that. So what this chart is about is thinking more. I'm not saying thinking is about the creative stage. I'm saying it's about people that think creatively, and that your project managers, your lighting people, the lighting is about the lighting designer. He spends hours working it out before and then turns up and says, the sound engineers. They have to think, what do we need? Why do we need it? For a little event like this, the sound engineer's probably gone, oh, that'll be all right, we know how many people, how many mics we need, it's not taken long. And then there's the delivery. But if you're doing a massive launch, hours spent in the front. So think about this and think maybe, are you charging it in the right way? I don't know the answer to that, I'm just putting it forward. So, it's time to summarize. But just before I do, because I do like a cheap gag, this guy I met last week in Minneapolis, and he used to be at Microsoft, and he's in charge of all of the catering for Microsoft, but he's in charge of the whole catering experience. And he's just moved to Ford to change how they do their whole thing. And he's a very, very clever and very creative guy. And he said this: you have to get out of your known world, experience other worlds, and then fit them back in your own world. That's creativity. I just thought it was inspired. And with that, I had a little thought. Because my friend at the back, Mr. Kevin Woolsworth, I thought, how can I get Kevin out of his own known world to experience other worlds and then apply them back? And I thought, I was in one of those lovely old bookshops, little second-hand bookshops, walking around yesterday, and I thought, I'm going to buy him a book. I'm going to buy him a book that will inspire him to think differently about something, to give him a different perspective. So I looked around and I looked at some amazing books about architecture, and I thought, no, this is the one. Statistics. I thought this is right up Kevin's street because he never talks about numbers. And so I thought, Kevin, this is a gift for you to thank you for inviting me, because I think this can inspire your creativity to a new level. So I'll leave that for you at the end. But the principle's the same. Look to somewhere, to get new ideas, you look to somewhere where you haven't looked, to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. The last thing is, I will summarize in a second. This is a jazz musicianist who was in, I think, the 60s. But I just loved the way he says it. Making the simple complicated is commonplace. Making the complicated simple, awesomely simple, that's creativity. And I always think that that's a lovely thing. We don't have to overcomplicate. We have to simplify beautifully. So, the summary. Think about your business model and the future. Perhaps differentiate the way you apply creativity. Think of the words you use. Think about how to charge and for what. Look at your process and evaluate that intangible phase. It's where the value is. I said at the beginning, what about cabbages and carrots? Well, okay. Anyone can grow a carrot or a cabbage. But why is it that some people can grow them well and others can grow them less well? Because it's about nurturing. It's about putting the water at the right time. It's providing the bed, providing the right nutrients, having the team around them that get. And that would have been a wonderful way for me to wrap up this, but I'm not going to because it's nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. What I would like, and the reason for this slide is, if ever you want to contact me, or if ever you want to tell anyone about this presentation, you want to put it on Instagram, you want to put it on Facebook, say it was terrible, it was great, whatever, please just mention carrots or cabbages, because it'll fuck up what they're thinking about at the other end. They think, terribly sorry for swearing. They'll be going, what is this? This guy's talking about carrots. So you could say, for example, I was inspired by the way we moved carrots through the creativity process. Don't care. Please just mention carrots or cabbages because it makes me laugh. Okay. And you can contact me. That's my number. Take the photo. That's my email address. I will respond to you, but only if you mention a carrot or a cabbage. All right? You can look me up on LinkedIn. That'll tell you about me. Tell me whether I actually have the credibility to have said all this. You can look at my thoughtcasts, which I do with Nigel Collin in Australia, which actually there's going to be a new one coming out. Kevin's reminded me we need to do one. They're irreverent ramblings of two old men But if you listen, there is always a business message that comes out of them, and they're only 20 minutes long, so you can listen in the car. Happy if you follow them. That's it. That's me done. I hope if there's any questions or whatever.
2, 3, 3, 4, hit it. Okay, I already have a question from Edmonton.
Wow. Hi,
And it is this.
Edmonton.
My creative team has recently revamped our services, and we have developed a creative event design package, which is essentially a detailed creative process which we provide to the clients. However, we cannot get our firm to buy into this internally as they don't see the value. How can we ignite the buy-in? They're having the opposite problem. Normally,
So-
it's the client who won't
Hang
buy
on,
in.
so the clients like it, but
Clients like it. The internal team
I mean,
doesn't.
that doesn't sound like too hard a sell internally. If you're approaching it from a not this is the best thing ever. If you approach it from our clients want this. This is what our clients want. Are we a service agency? I mean, if the management can't see that there's a market, I can't answer how you do that, but maybe the way that they're saying it up the chain of their own business is actually important there. So if it's more, our clients have asked for this, we now need to do it. And going back to that point of it's a step at a time. Because I think you might find in a big business, or even a medium-sized business, if someone at the bottom says, well, our client would like this, and they go, the management goes, well, that means we've got to change our processes. That means we need a new finance system. That means, and they'll go, no, we're not doing that because that's too difficult. So I would say probably that's why they're getting the pushback. So I would say use your creative thinking to work out how to do it slowly, change it a little bit, and then the business will have to align with where the market's going. I don't know if that answers the question. Questions
Anyone
in the
here
room?
in the room have questions? All right, yep, let me get the mic to you.
Right at the front here. Oh, sorry, Kevin. Wherever
back
Kevin
here's
wants to
closer.
go with the microphone.
I just thought it was interesting.
What's your
how you-
name?
Oh, sorry, my name is Trisha.
Tricia,
I'm
hi.
with Viva Events. We are in a corporate event planning and destination management company here in
Cool.
Portland. And I'm thinking on our DMC side, and we were talking about changing the way you describe creativity, and I feel that we're very caught up on the word proposal. There's an RFP, there's a request for a proposal, and then there's a proposal. And proposals are always free. By nature, the proposal is free, and the client then chooses to move ahead with that proposal or not move ahead. And if they move ahead, then they pay us money. If they don't move ahead, they decide they don't like it, then they pay you nothing. So I think that it's almost like you have to change we struggle with finding a way to change, we need to find a way to change the definition of a proposal. It needs to be a new word, because clients' ideas that show me your ideas, if we don't like them, then we're not going to pay you anything. We're not going to move forward with you. So how do we get paid for coming up with those ideas?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a classic loop, which is where this is the way it's always been. And where I'm coming from is that potentially it's going to be a long journey and it's going to be slow. But if the principle is such that you're moving, we talked about Kerry in Calgary. They took the brave pill and just went, we're not doing it. And I think they were big enough and secure enough to be able to do that. But you don't have to do it with all your clients. Or you could do it with, you could decide, do we do it with new clients or do we re-educate our existing clients so that there's then a new way of doing it? So I think what I'm really interested about your response is your thinking about it. I don't have the answer, but if you were to start saying, if you believed what I've kind of said, how would you start to think about that of saying, and this isn't changing it tomorrow. This is a slow shift so that you, over time, your clients think about you in a different way. And that's everywhere. So if you're an AV company into a DMC, think about how your clients start to do it. Rather than saying, well, I want $5,000 for the lighting, you might say, well, it's $2,000 for the on-site lighting, and it's $1,000 for the preparation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Price doesn't necessarily change, but the process and the thinking does. That's all I'm saying. But great question. Mary at the front
Yep.
here.
Hang on a sec.
Thank you. Hi, Mary Ann Riley, CMP, and haven't seen Richard in 21 years since the last time he took us on a tour of imagination in London. So this was wonderful. I came up from Eugene for this. Is there a way to purchase a copy of the Imagination book, Richard?
No. Not as far as I know, but you could phone them up and see. I mean, it's exceptionally good, but they're probably out there. You'll probably find them on eBay or something because they literally give them to everyone. I wish I kicked myself on the way because I forgot to bring this one copy I've got, and it is something else because you read it and there's two versions. There's the one with all the flowcharts and stuff, so, which actually gets given on as a hard copy online on their intranet to people to go, okay, so I'm at this stage. Who do I need to involve? Like, oh, I better phone the account manager or whatever and get the meeting. There's all of that. The other thing about the flowchart one is just because it's this massive load of flights, you could do all of stage 1 in 10 seconds. It's just saying, but that's the process you've got to go through. You have to think this, do that, tell someone, done. The little book, which is the one I've got here, is more written and visual. And I have never seen anything as good as it to this day. It's, incredible. I was part of the forming of it at the beginning, and we got to one stage, and then this is the next generation, the one I showed here. And it's like, I'm sure there are other agencies with them, but just little lessons to learn there. Thank you. Any more questions?
Yep.
Yeah, Justin.
Hang on. A lot of times I find myself, we're working on 10, 15, 20 different events at the same time, and trying to break out and schedule so that you can spend enough time to actually get engaged with whatever that particular event or design or creativity process might be. And I wonder if you could speak to, is there like a time limit that you would set aside, or is there some way to, just try to focus, or how important is it to focus on one at a time, or,
I don't know that's quite a hard one to answer. It's a great question. I think I would be focusing not on how much time you need to spend on a particular response. I would be focusing on, have I established the why? Because a lot of the time you waste your time because you haven't established the why. So you'll do 5 proposals and then, oh no, that's not what I wanted. Oh, okay, we'll do it again. So I think if you go through the process, but actually spend a little bit more time than most people do going, could you just clarify why we're doing it? Right. Even if it's just you've got a phone call from an agency and they say, well, you don't need to know what the client's doing, I just want some lights. Tell me that doesn't happen, I know it does. But actually pushing back a little bit, so could you explain why? Because there might be a more efficient way of us doing this for you. There might be, let's. So you basically, by asking the why more, you're starting to position yourself slightly more strategically, and slightly more strategically means you get invited to the table at whatever level you're at. And so I think sometimes the biggest risk we all have is we go straight to the fulfillment tactics stage. And then you get on with it, and then you go, oh shit, no, we haven't got the right amount of people or whatever. So I would say carve out in your process, understand the why. Yes. What's your name, sorry?
Hi, Anna Zamir with Flock Event Designs. I do event planning and production. So do you, depending on the scale of the event, do you tend to have any challenge getting the client to answer the why? Because I've definitely experienced that.
Absolutely. So there's
and how do you overcome
right,
that?
well, absolutely. So here's the point, and I guess you've got on one end the really brave answer, the other end is like I need to pay my kids, to go to school, so I'm just going to say yes and do it. When you ask the questions and you can't get the why, it's often because they don't know. So there's 2 ways of looking at this. One, you could get paid, say, well, hey, I'll come in and consult with you and we'll get paid. Doesn't happen very often because the clients think they know. By having those questions and them not having the answers, keep at it. Alan Folkrud out of Raleigh, this guy is like brain the size of a planet. And he approaches it saying, if you're asking the why questions more often, you're having engagement time. So the more you ask the questions, they think, wow, they understand this. I don't really know. I'll go and find out. You can use it as part of your marketing rather than sending them a brochure. Don't worry, I'll come in for the morning and sit with you. Let's see if we can scope that out a bit. Now think of that as a piece of marketing, but actually you are asking the why. Long term, you become the one where you charge for going into that meeting. But yeah, it's honestly, sometimes you ask those why questions and they go, I don't know, CEO wants a party tomorrow night. Okay, but if you actually go, yeah, is that absolutely the why? He wants a party tomorrow night? There's nothing else we need to know. You know, is it because he's trying to motivate the teams, or is it just because actually it just feels like a party? If you can say, I've now got to the bottom of it, he just wants a party. Well, that's fine. Just give him a party. You don't have to make everything a world strategy. You know, just understand why a bit more and up the value stream. Does that answer the question? Ish.
Yeah. I have another question
Oh.
as well. In terms of the thinking and the execution, I think I tend to look at it a little bit differently, and I'm kind of curious to see what you've seen in the industry in terms of how people are structuring this. But especially when I'm talking to an existing client, or if I have a contract and we're just doing another event, I tend to think about my time in terms of strategic planning and production versus on-site execution.
Okay.
And that seems to go over well, because I feel like I understand that the planning and the production may be two different stages, but to think about that holistically as part of the creative thinking and that problem solving to get to the end goal, I feel like that's all wrapped up in one to a degree. And I think that strategic planning is a little bit different than creativity if you think about it in terms of agencies. So I'm just curious how you've kind of seen that unfold with some of the event agencies that you work with.
What you've said is actually everything I've said here. This bit, the detailed design, that's the planning. And do you remember at the beginning I said there was a word planning? I said I want to come back to it. You can call this bit anything you like, but it's separating the delivery, which could be on site, but say you were making a piece of digital marketing or you were making a film, then your delivery would be when you hand over or when you do the shoot, yeah? Whereas the detailed design, the planning phase, is the bit in the middle. So actually what you just said you do is 100% what I've said. And actually what you find is that as you go through to the big agencies, the Jack Morton, the George P. Johnsons, they're doing this already. What they're really doing is they're pushing the strategy end. They're making a load of money in the strategy end. Now, I think for smaller businesses, you might not even make any money, but just go through the process. Just ask why. And then you could say, no. The delivery so you split down what you might class as products, lighting, into the bits you do on site and the people and all that, and the bit you need to get there. And if you're a hardware supplier, think that what you say to your clients, and then you if you're a middle agency or an event planning business, you say that to your clients, and it just starts to change the story, if that makes sense. Any other questions? That's good. Any other questions come over the line from anywhere else, or they all
double check?
Have they all just given up?
I think we're pretty solid.
So either I was brilliant or terrible.
Well, let's do this. Let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. He'll stick around for a little while. We're probably also going to run and get lunch, so if anyone's hungry, we can join us. We can have a little conversation there, and then again, we are going to do dinner tonight, 6 o'clock at Henry's. Let me know if you want to come hang out. We have a little space reserved. So that's where we're at. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much,
it.
everyone. Thank you.